Hi, this is State Senator Tom George. Welcome to my program, Current Events. And today we're going to talk about land banks. And to help me with this topic, I've invited a special guest from Saginaw. It's Marvin Hare. And Marvin, you are the Saginaw County Treasurer.
Yes.
Welcome to my program.
Thank you.
And before we get into the topic of the day, I want you to just give me a little background information. You've been treasurer for
32 years, yes. Long-time treasurer, yep.
And tell me how that came about.
Well, you know, I worked at Saginaw Steering Gear many years ago and decided that, and I also have a tax business I've had for the same amount of time, part-time tax business, and I decided to get involved in the county, and the former treasurer was leaving, and he was a very well-known, likable guy, and he actually ended up dying, and so that's when I threw my hat in the ring, and I decided it was a good way to go if that's what I wanted. So, and once I got in there, I've done some innovative things that I am very pleased with, and it certainly didn't make a lot of money for me, but it's been a wonderful career that I've loved. You know, I got my interest in the art, trying to help people, and I've done the best I can.
All right. And Marvin, you've been treasurer for 32 years. You've
Yes.
been president of the Treasurers Association
Yes.
at one point.
Back in 1985, I was president, and I went through the chairs prior to that, and I was very involved. In fact, I was legislative chair for many years. And then, like I said, in '99, my wife had a stroke, and so it took me away from the coming to Lansing and doing the legislative work. I've been very involved in the association. I love the people that I deal with. I love the county treasurers, and they're a good bunch of people.
And you probably know our treasurer then, Mary
sure.
Balkema?
Oh, absolutely.
And I have a very good relationship with Mary, and in fact, she is what prompted this legislative initiative that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
She suggested to me that that I work on a law, that we work together on changing the state law so that Kalamazoo County could have a land bank. So that's what we're here to talk about, land banks. Sure. And you've had one in Saginaw now for some time.
Yes. Originally, the law was passed in '99 to what they call foreclosing governmental unit, is the unit that forecloses on properties. And originally, we opted out of that, and we didn't get into the foreclosure process until 2004. And
if you opt out, then
you can't have a land bank.
And then who's doing the foreclosing if the county's not?
Well, the state of Michigan, and I was not pleased with how that was, being done. And I had my heart in it a little bit more. And once I seen what was going on, I felt that I could do a better job locally, foreclosing the properties and taking care of the properties than the state was doing. So. That's what I did. In 2004, our board passed the resolution to establish us as the foreclosing governmental unit. And then after that is when we decided to, start a land bank. Now, we wanted one. That was another reason for the foreclosing governmental unit pick, was because I wanted to start a land bank. And Genesee County already had to have one, so I just kind of,
followed their lead.
Yeah, and I read the laws and pretty much knew that it was a possibility. I mean, our city is very, very depressed, and
the city of Saginaw.
Yes, and there's a lot of properties that are vacant, foreclosed, whatever, and so to me, you have to have a plan, and to me, one of our kind of mottos is building quality neighborhoods. Now, that's important to me in the city, and I don't live in the city. I live in the county of Saginaw, but I live in Saginaw Township. But the city of Saginaw is the core, and it needs to be repaired. And we got a ways to go, but we're working on it.
So when we talk about foreclosures, we're talking about properties where the owners haven't been able or haven't paid their property taxes.
Right.
So we're not talking about mortgage foreclosures.
No.
These are tax foreclosures.
Tax foreclosures. That's right.
And tell me a little bit about that process. Let's say I don't pay my property taxes. What happens to me?
If you don't pay your taxes, your current taxes that you get a bill for in July and December of each year, by March of the following year, would be March 1st of 2009, all taxes will be delinquent. Real property taxes are delinquent. you can't pay it at the local unit, you have to pay it to the county. County treasurer collects all delinquent taxes. Now, once it's delinquent, then there's penalties and all that add on. March 1st of the following years, property is forfeited to the county. Now, once it's forfeited to the county, there's a whole lot of fees added on for title search and all that, getting ready for foreclosure. So we go through a lot of notices, inspection of the properties, and all these kind of things. And then 1 year later, so that would be March the 1st of 2011, the property is foreclosed. Now the final redemption time is December 31st. So it's really, from delinquency day, it's 2 years. But from levy date, it's probably 2.5 years. So once it's foreclosed, then we have to have a tax land sale. Okay, now that some of us, there's an optional one in July, but in our case, we have 2 of them. First one we usually have is at late August, and the property is offered for all taxes, interest, and penalties for all years that are going in that property. And we don't get many people buying it because it's quite a bit of money. If it doesn't sell at that sale, we have to have another sale, and that's usually in October. And that sale, there's no minimum bid. So that's where the properties are, a lot of them are sold. And in our case, we get a lot of speculators, which I do not particularly like, because they'll buy these properties for sometimes $10, and then they don't do anything with them. This is where the land bank comes in. Okay, now the land bank can buy properties from the sale. They can withhold properties from the sale. In our case, what we do is we inspect all these properties, and we look at the ones, and we have targeted areas. Like we target areas like Covenant Healthcare, Cathedral District, St. Mary's, certain areas that we want the properties to not go to speculators. So we bundle it. So we bundle it into a huge bundle, like it might be $1.5 million, $2 million. And then we add the cost of demos on there so that nobody's going to bid on it. So that just waits there, after the next sale. Now, after the second sale for the minimum bid, some of those we have to let go because we just can't take them all. But if they don't sell that at that sale, they go to the local unit that land does. Now, what we try to do is say, look at if they don't, they have 30 days to say I don't want it or I do want it. Okay, if they don't want it, then it goes to the county, and then we put it in the land bank. We don't want them to take it. We want it in the land bank. So that's what we have, this kind of a partnership with the city.
So local governments have the option of taking it, but generally,
Yes. Yeah.
generally they're in favor of the land banks.
Generally, the local units have to buy it, so they don't. They have to pay the minimum bid. So they have to. So they don't. If they get it because nobody else bid on it, yeah, they can take it. But it's they don't have the I guess the means to take care of them. Some of them that they want, and we've had some where they get them, but in most cases we're trying to say, especially in the city, the very worst depressed area, is to they just sign them all over to us, and so we take them. Now this bundled property ends up eventually in the land bank, and it's like in this this last year, for instance, we had 500, and I think started out at 530 parcels foreclosed, and we bundled at 300 and some. So there was a couple hundred that were sold, and of course, once we get them in the land bank, then we go back and really inspect them and try to figure out what we're going to do with them, and that's another process all in what of itself. It's really good because we look at properties, and we even have an area that's what we call a green space, where we say we don't want properties to be side lotted in there. We want this to go back to green, and eventually let the city use it for industrial, commercial, whatever. And once we can get it cleared out, that might take a few years.